Went into last season, became third. We took Southampton, who've obviously gone to get promotion to the Premier League. We took them all the way, which I believe, and we only failed at the final hurdle in our quest for automatic promotion. So I thought we'd done never so well. I thought Lee had done never so well. The team had done. So for us to lose against Peterborough, let's be fair, Peterborough deserved it on the day. We probably didn't turn up. People talk about formations, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. I thought we'd done well, and I went straight into the dressing room and said, right, okay, Lee, let's crack on.
We were all hoping we were going to go and not walk the league, because it's not that simple, but we were going to go and get a great point total and go and win the league.
You still hurt when you went away to places like Walsall and Yeovil, and maybe you didn't get a result. You still, when you start thinking about everything, you still remind yourself going back to last season's disappointment.
So a new season, but with the same aim: promotion to the Championship. Having lost in the playoffs in May, Town were among the favourites to go up. But the fans' concern, would there be that often experienced playoff hangover? Well, 4 new signings would start the opening game of the season. And first up at the Gal Farm on the first day were newly promoted Bury, out to make an impression themselves, although staying up was their avowed intent. Town were frustrated until just past the hour when Gary Roberts got onto the end of substitute Lee Novak's cross, 1-0, and the season was up and running. The lead didn't last long though, with Bury deservedly getting an equaliser through Ryan Lowes. He was determined to show his 28 goals that had helped Bury get up weren't a flash in the pan. But Town nearly won the match with what would have been an own goal from a player who shares his name with one of the game's greatest ever strikers. However, the goalkeeper spared Mark Hughes' blushes. Well, the cry at Vale Park could have been, there's only 2 Gary Roberts. But it was Towns who'd have the last laugh, with a comfortable passage through to the second round. Lee Clark had demanded a better performance than he'd seen on Saturday, and he got it. The home side's Gary Roberts put them in front though, as they looked to pull off an upset. That was after just 24 minutes. But Town would be level by half-time, and there's certainly only one Lee Novak. He quickly replied with the first of his 2 on the night, which would ultimately become 17 for the season. Having been left out of the side against Bury, his 2 goals were a nudge to the manager, who'd made 6 changes. And from there on in, Town never looked back and were always in control. Like all good strikers, he was in the right place at the right time to finish off a super move. Jack Hunt made it 3-1 early in the second half, picked that one out. And with a quarter of the game to go, Town's Gary Roberts ensured progress with a stunner of his own. Vale's late penalty from Doug Loft was academic, and Town returned from the Potteries dreaming of a cup run. Maybe it would be one of the big guns next. This draw saw Town equal the club record of 27 league games unbeaten, which had stood since 1925. Now to lose the lead once may be unfortunate, twice is careless. Lee Novak carried on where he'd left off at Port Vale in the Cup, with his 2 goals there earning him a starting place. On the stroke of half-time though, fortune shone on Rochdale, with Jean-Louis Akpro able to level. Town responded well though, with Danny Ward repaying a chunk of his summer transfer fee with his first goal following his permanent move to the Gal Farm. But again, Town couldn't hold on to the lead, and they only had themselves to blame for Rochdale's second equaliser, with Ashley Grimes getting on the end of Gary Jones' cross. With both sides having drawn their opening 2 games, this was always perhaps a nailed-on draw. Town beat the club record for unbeaten games, with this being the 28th on the trot, but rewriting history was probably the only memorable part of the day. Danny Ward had the best chance in the first half, after being set up by former Hartlepool player Tommy Miller. Town were closer in the second half, but it was on as even between Town managers present and past. 3 points from 3 games wasn't the start Town had wanted, but no one was pressing any panic buttons.
Carried on the unbeaten record, which we finished the league season in last year. But you've got to start winning games if you're going to be certainly in the top two. And it was a little frustrating to get off to draws, but we took the positives from it, and we knew we were playing our best football, but we knew that the best was yet to come, and we were striving forward and working hard as we can to try and put it right.
Well, that first win wasn't to be too far away, sparked off by Jordan Rhodes' first of an incredible 40 goals in the season. Maybe the crowd sensed this was to be the day we'd see the start of something special, with a very boisterous atmosphere in the summer sunshine. Just 3 minutes had gone when Rhodes got the opener. Assistance from Jack Hunt paid off, and Rhodes just did what comes naturally to him. Just as in the opening two league matches, though, Town were pegged back, and this time within a minute through the one-time Barnsley and Nigeria striker Coyote Odijeyi. Well, heads were in hands after 27 minutes when Town went behind in the league for the first time this season. Not only were points at stake, but so too the record, thanks to Mikel Antonio. Cue the introduction of Danny Ward at half-time, and he helped kick-start the recovery. Rhodes got his second just before the hour mark, measured to absolute perfection. And 3 minutes later, Town were in front. This time Rhodes turned provider along with Donald McDermott for Lee Novak to get his fourth in as many games. They held on and the season was up and running.
Of course, it's always nice to get the first win. And, to get a win on home soil and, shall we say, get the ball rolling with the first league win, it's always nice.
I was getting a bit nervous and upset, but thankfully Jordan and Lee scored goals for us and we got the result.
The first league success gave hope of an upset in the Cup. Winning at Port Vale meant a first ever trip to the Cardiff City Stadium. It would give Town the chance to test themselves against Championship opposition, who'd just missed out on promotion to the Premier League, and who, like Town, wanted to make sure they'd be inspired rather than haunted by defeat in the playoffs. 2 goals in the space of a first half minute made the game look a formality for Cardiff. First the Hungarian Gabor Gipis, and then John Parkin scored, and Cardiff looked to be heading comfortably into the second round. Town's cause wasn't helped with Lee Novak going off injured before half-time, but could former Cardiff striker Alan Lee prove the law of the X? Well, no one could have forecast the turnaround in the second half. Jordan Rhodes got the ball rolling when Cardiff captain Paul Quinn committed a schoolboy error. It looked game on when Danny Ward's shot found its way through a crowded penalty area after Cardiff twice failed to clear the danger. The Lazarus-like recovery looked complete with 2 minutes to go. As Jordan Rhodes beat the offside flag to head for goal, the locals were heading for the exits. Those that left, though, missed 3 more Cardiff goals. In stoppage time, Don Cowie equalised to force extra time, and Town was stunned following their tremendous fight back, and the momentum was certainly with Cardiff. They were back in front through Craig Conway after 96 minutes. Could Town come back again? Well, the answer was no, and Cowie's second with 3 minutes to go ended the debate. The Town would just be hoping that the energy-sapping defeat wouldn't impact on the league progress. They were beaten, but certainly not disgraced. Well, there may have been some heavy legs following the Cardiff defeat. Wickham arrived at the Gal Farm, though, on the back of a cup thumping by Nottingham Forest, and they frustrated Town for the best part of an hour. The introduction of Gary Roberts, though, was a masterstroke. Within a minute of coming on, he was instrumental in the opening goal for Alan Lee. What a way for him to get his first goal for the club. And we didn't have to wait long for the second. Tommy Miller and Jack Hunt's neat 1-2 was met full on, and it looked game over. It was the first time Town had a 2-goal lead in the league, and shortly afterwards it would be 3. Roberts, the catalyst for the opener, deservedly got one himself. Jordan Rhodes and Jamie McComb were close to a touch, but none was necessary. With the Carling Cup just a memory for Town, a more realistic route to Wembley began at Northampton. Town could barely have had to travel further south though for their northern tie, and it took until the 39th minute for Town to break down the stubborn defence of the League Two side, with Donald McDermott getting his first goal for the club. Again though, holding on to a lead was a problem, with Michael Jacons equalising before half-time. A penalty shootout looked on the cards until Lee Novak pounced late on. He'd been on for just over 10 minutes when he got his 5th of the season to put Town into the second round. Beaten Northern finalists the previous season, who was to know where this season would take them? So after the unbeaten start, Town ended August just a point outside the top 6, but they were well in touch with the leaders, and confidence seemed to be growing with every game. Another short trip over the Pennines to Huddersfield's closest rivals geographically yielded another point. This time though, Town had to come from behind. They started sluggishly but woke up after the much-travelled Shefki Kuchi put Oldham in front after 6 minutes, and they didn't have to wait too long for the equaliser. Anthony Kay's stunning finish might have been expected of a striker, not a defender. The thousands of travelling fans thought that was worth the admission money alone. Town had a numerical advantage late on, with Bradley Diallo getting a straight red for a foul on Oscar Goburn. He was subbed and his replacement Alan Lee almost won it with his first contribution, but it finished 1-1 and Town was still unbeaten. Slowly but surely, Town were being seen as promotion contenders, and a third successive home win put them into the top 6. The investment in the team was being justified, and the fans were responding with another increase in the crowd. Danny Ward's early injury saw Gary Roberts come on, and his superb volley saw Town in front. Tranmere were barely in the game, and Huddersfield's clincher came from a substitute as well, Scott Arfield getting on the end of Lee Novak's cross. Another clean sheet and 3 more points, and certainly onwards and upwards. The first Yorkshire derby of the season saw Town travel down to Bramall Lane. Sheffield United were also unbeaten in the league, but who could have forecast then how the season would end against them? From the off, Huddersfield were on top. Playing 2 strikers up front away from home was a change, but it paid dividends. Steve Simonson could only parry Danny Ward's strike straight to Lee Novak, and Town were 1-up after 20 minutes. And that was the start of a stunning 20 minutes for Huddersfield, although Chris Porter nearly equalised. Town rubbed salt into the wound 3 minutes later with Novak's second, another cracking finish. That made it 7 for the season for him, already 2 more than for the whole of the previous campaign. The rout was complete before half-time, with Oscar Goburn scoring his first goal for the club. Novak thought he'd got a hat-trick, only for the referee to rule that the ball wasn't over the line. A half-time rocket up the proverbial from Danny Wilson shook up Sheffield United. Ched Evans came as close as anyone for them, but they couldn't replicate Town's first goal. Huddersfield weren't far away from inflicting more damage, but Sheffield United were persistent in trying to get back into the game, and they dominated for spells. But Ian Bennett kept his former club at bay. A clean sheet, 3 goals and points, and a big blow to United's own promotion hopes. And another milestone for Town, equalling the record for successive games unbeaten outside the top flight, 33.
The lads were terrific, and I don't think Sheffield United knew what had hit them. There were other other terrific performances throughout the season, but as you say, that was a really complete performance that night.
Another away day followed to MK Dons, another of the promotion contenders. Town couldn't repeat the trick despite dominating for long periods. Alan Lee was about to start celebrating before a post intervened, but Scott Arfield was on hand to provide the finishing touch. The equaliser midway through the second half wasn't dissimilar to Town's goal, except the initial effort was saved rather than blocked by the woodwork. Dean Lewington was there to finish off. Town did have a great chance to win it late on. The tangle with Alan Lee saw Gary McKenzie sent off. Penalty duties fell to the then leading scorer Lee Novak, but David Martin guessed correctly and 1-1 at finish. So another point and another record.
Go on, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from your MK Dons. We'll see you back here.
A fourth successive home win was expected against bottom of the table Leyton Orient. Things don't always go to plan. Lee Novak was hoping to atone for the previous week's penalty miss and score a rare home goal, as he was becoming something of an away day specialist. But it looked like business as usual for Town when Alan Lee put them in front. That was midway through the first half. Some neat build-up at about the same point in the second half produced another Jack Hunt cracker, and it looked to be game over. With 5 minutes to go though, Jamie McComb got involved with George Porter as Orient were getting ready to take a corner. Lee Clark blamed his red card on what happened subsequently. First, Kevin Lisby pulled one back, and Town just couldn't see out the final few minutes. In stoppage time, the inevitable happened as Orient sensed blood. The initial cross was scuffed, but still found its way to Ben Chorley. And for being in cruise control, Town were hanging on for a point. Well, back-to-back draws saw Town out of the top 6, and with 10 games gone, the table was starting to take some shape, but they were still only 6 points off the similarly unbeaten pace setters Charlton, and 7 clubs were separated by just 2 points.
Hello. We went down to Brentford and we had a right good battle for half an hour, and then after that we really took a grip of the game and took it to them, and that afternoon we won 4, but I think it could have been more, and that would any less than we deserved.
The recalled Jordan Rhodes got Town off to a good start just before half-time. But they went goal crazy in 8 second-half minutes. Firstly, Novak continued his knack of scoring away from home. Rhodes then got his second with Novak turning provider.
Brentford's a tough place to go, but thankfully on that day Jordan scored a lot of goals for us, and we managed to get a great result, and it was a nice coach journey back.
Rhodes must have thought he'd got a hat-trick. But Gary Roberts was on hand to thump it home. The Johnson Paints Trophy suddenly becomes more important when it's a local derby. More than 10,000 fans turned up for the visit of Bradford City. Local pride was at stake, as well as the chance to move another step closer to Wembley. An unfortunate own goal from Anthony Kay put Bradford into the driving seat. Although Town were quickly back level, they couldn't get their noses in front. Tommy Miller scored an emphatic penalty. His teammates should have been taking note. Bradford came back though to restore their lead with a bullet header from Luke Oliver within a minute, and the upset looked on again. But from a corner of their own, Town responded once more through Peter Clark. A real striker's finish, his first goal since January. There were no more goals in the remaining 20 minutes, so penalties would settle the outcome. Lee Novak was first up for Town. He had taken note of Miller's earlier one. How the home fans loved it when Town old boy Michael Flynn sent his into orbit. But they weren't laughing for long, as Miller couldn't repeat what he'd done in normal time. Mark Stewart for Bradford did score, as did Danny Ward for Town, as the keepers were getting nowhere near them. Nick Colgan went the right way for Carl Reed's effort, but was clutching thin air. Anthony Kay's already miserable evening took a turn for the worse with his effort. Colgan guessed right again and almost kept out Robbie Threlfall's shot. Alan Lee kept Town in it. But Niall Rodney grabbed the glory for Bradford, and their travelling fans went home happy. Having become accustomed to penalty shootout wins, that was their fourth on the trot. Town quickly put the cup disappointment behind them with another 3 points from the first ever meeting at any level with Stevenage. Now a minute before half-time is said to be a psychologically good time to score a goal, and that's exactly what Gary Roberts did. Stevenage weren't going to sit back though, and they struck back midway through the second half through Scott Laird, one of the players that had come with them through the divisions from their non-league days. The Town would have the final say. Almost inevitably it was Lee Novak, with the woodwork claiming another assist. The Devonair was very much to Town's liking, with a second successive 4-0 away win. The outcome wasn't really in any doubt once Alan Lee got the opener. And Jordan Rhodes made it 2-0 before half-time, with keeper Artur Krysiak again coming for the ball, but getting nowhere near it. He was replaced at half-time by former Chelsea keeper Lenny Pidgley, but Rhodes doesn't mind who he scores against. So first it was the right foot, then the left foot. And the perfect hat-trick finished off in style with a header. What a way to celebrate his 100th career league start. Jordan Rhodes' hat-trick at Exeter had made him joint top scorer with Lee Novak, but his second successive treble saw him sprint clear. The first of the trio against Preston in front of a bumper crowd of 16,000 was one that keeper Ian Turner won't forget in a hurry. He was starting to make a habit of embarrassing goalkeepers. The second saw him on the end of a fine all-round team move just before half-time. And he rounded things off before the hour mark with Turner again flat-footed. Preston pulled one back shortly afterwards though through Yuval Sumu, but it was never going to be enough. And Rhodes' 3 goals made it 3 successive wins for the first time of the season.
I remember going away with Scotland under-21s the week before, and I learnt a great deal in that week. I learnt a lot about myself and a lot about the way to play, and applying myself as a professional and what you have to do both on and off the pitch. And I just felt I learned a great deal from that week, and applied a few things going into the game against Exeter. Tried a few different things, tried to work it out a bit.
The Tuesday night in Scunthorpe saw one of the most exciting and seesawing games of the season. Town started as favourites looking for a 4th straight win, with more than 2,000 fans making the journey to Glanford Park. But they were soon a goal down, thanks to a super strike from Oliver Norwood. Going behind was rare for Town, but they responded well with Tommy Miller's equally fine strike. Ian Bennett then came to the rescue after Anthony Kay fouled Chris Dagnall. He took the penalty himself, and somehow Town kept it out, following a good old-fashioned 4th Division penalty area scramble. The keeper made sure he'd be grabbing the headlines with a repeat performance after Scott Arfield's handball. This time Dagnall handed the responsibility to Michael O'Connor, but the outcome was the same. Town must have been thinking it would be their night, and it looked even more likely to be so when Jordan Rhodes popped up with 3 minutes to go. But Dagnall was to atone for his penalty miss with a very late equaliser, and the points were shared on a breathless night. And Town was still unbeaten. Huddersfield made the trip to Somerset still in an automatic promotion place, while Yeovil was striving to stay up, even at this early stage of the season. There was increasing talk of chasing down Nottingham Forest's unbeaten run of 42 games, but also speculation about the manager's future. And the only goal of the game came late on, a first senior one for Anton Robinson. So, with more than a third of the season gone, Town were looking good, sometimes winning ugly, but still unbeaten. There was little breathing space with the playoff contenders though, and within the month they'd be heading to Charlton. Town seemed to have a habit of making things hard for themselves against some of the strugglers, and it was no different against Walsall. The kit, by the way, was the limited edition Help for Heroes strip. As long as Town didn't lose, they'd equal that record of Nottingham Forest's. It took time to break down the stubborn Walsall side, but Lee Novak scored after 67 minutes. However, it wasn't to be Town's day. Teenager Jamie Patterson came on and scored his first ever senior goal. 1 point, but it should have been all 3, and with the FA Cup in the immediate horizon, they'll have to wait to try and be record breakers. The FA Cup run lasted just 90 minutes, despite Lee Novak putting Town in front. The League Two side were ahead by half-time though. First Aidan Flint equalised. And then Rafael De Vita put Swindon in front. Paolo Di Canio's side wrapped things up with 2 late goals. The first came from Mehdi Karouche. And then from Simon Ferry, as Huddersfield suffered their heaviest defeat since January. November the 19th, and an historic day for Huddersfield Town as they set a record for unbeaten games in the Football League. Having equalled Forest's record, they wanted to beat it. Typically it fell to Jordan Rhodes to set them on their way. He outjumped former Town loanee Christian Pearce just 26 seconds into the second half, and not for the first time he left a keeper flat-footed. Town didn't have things all their own way though. Alan Lee, just back from suspension, was sent off for a clash with Sam Sodji. Could the 10 men hold on? Well, they did more than that with a second from Jordan Rhodes after a slip from Pearce. It was very nearly the perfect day, but Neil Bishop denied Town a clean sheet in stoppage time. No one could deny them a place in the record books though. 43 games unbeaten in the league, and next up the trip to the leaders, Charlton Athletic. No surprise that the Sky Sports cameras were at the Valley for the clash of the top two, but maybe achieving the phenomenal unbeaten run had taken its toll on Town. For the first time since Hartlepool in August, they failed to score, and the run was over. Jan Kermorgant got Charlton's opener midway through the first half. And by half-time, Town were 2 goals behind for the first time, with Hogan Aframe taking advantage of Town failing to clear. A big win for Chris Powell's side. How costly would it turn out to be for Town? Well, the defeat at the Valley saw Town out of the top 2 and 8 points adrift of Charlton. They were still comfortably in the playoff positions, but would all the draws come back to haunt them? They had nearly a fortnight to wait until the next game, when Bournemouth would come to the Gal Farm. Football is the greatest unscripted drama, but after a record-breaking unbeaten run of 43 games, who'd have predicted back-to-back defeats? Debutant Alex Bruce blocked the first cross, but the second fell to Harry Arter, and it was all over inside 20 minutes. The scouts and managers were out in force again to watch Jordan Rhodes, with the transfer window soon to open, and he grabbed the headlines in the proverbial Christmas cracker. He got all 4 of Town's goals, his 3rd hat-trick of the season. Town were 2 up after 16 minutes, and it looked like they were over their little hiccup.
Having been 2-0 up, it's disappointing to not get 3 points. But then again, being 4-2 down to get a point was a good day.
Wednesday came storming back though, first through Rob Jones and then Redder Johnson. Surely this has to be one of the spawniest ever goals, or was it just down to persistence? In the second half, Wednesday continued their comeback to take the lead for the first time through Ben Marshall. And Chris O'Grady then put them into the comfort zone with 2-goal cushion. But no one had told Jordan Rhodes that it was game over.
We passed the ball around really well. And some really good free-flowing attacking football, and I was fortunate to get all 4, but it was a real team effort, and how we came from 2 goals behind with 5-10 minutes to play, and managed to get an equaliser out of somewhere. I think that really gave us belief and a real lift in trying to maintain the season and pick up us self-belief and go from there.
For the neutral, for us at the end, obviously having been down in the game, to score when we did and equalise was fantastic. A great spectacle, but I think we'd have taken a scrappy 1-0 win rather than a nerve-jangling 4-all.
Boxing Day saw another 15,000 plus crowd at the Gal Farm and another Jordan Rhodes goal. It came just past the half-hour mark. It was only the 9th match in which he'd scored and his 20th goal of the season. Any back heel is always deemed to be cheeky. This was great technique though to finish off Lee Novak's cross, and it was enough to see off Chesterfield. The faithful were happy again after 3 games without a win. Town said farewell to 2011 with a draw against Carlisle, the 5th time they'd met in the calendar year in League and Cup, so it was kind of appropriate to end the year with old acquaintance. They were behind inside 8 minutes though, on loan Sunderland teenager Liam Noble getting onto the end of Francois Zoko's cross. But Town were level by half-time. If this was one game you didn't get to, guess who scored? Yes, Jordan Rhodes on hand again, another super finish. That's 21 for the season and 29 for the calendar year, plus another hatful for Scotland under-21s. Truly a year to remember, but what did the new year hold in store? Well, by the end of December it was already looking like Charlton +1 for automatic promotion. Despite a little wobble since losing at the Valley, Town still had plenty of time to be that +1. 6 weeks after beating County to become record breakers, Town went to Meadow Lane looking for the first league double of the season. After a goalless first half, all the main action was condensed into 25 minutes in the second. 2 quick goals put Town into a commanding position. First, Gary Roberts headed home from Jordan Rhodes' cross. Inevitably, Rhodes got onto the score sheet as well. Again, Town using the woodwork almost as a rebound bar. And that was 2-0. It was starting to look like it would be a happy new year for Huddersfield. The County were back in it after Tom Clark's foul on Alan Sheehan. Not a happy first start of the season for Clark. Jeff Hughes' emphatic penalty gave them hope. And their other Hughes, Lee, got the equaliser. 2 more points dropped for Town, and their form was wobbling. It was just 1 win in 6. The number 6 was to figure again very prominently very soon. An early bullet header from Oscar Goulburn was the perfect start at Wycombe. After that, it was the Jordan Road show with 2 before half-time.
It was one of them days where, you know, things go in. Some days you have them, and some days in training you go and every shot you seems to go in the net.
Everything fell to him that night, and you know, he was terrific. And as I've said before, I'm very, very glad he's in a blue and white shirt.
A further 3 followed in the second half, all from Rhodes. So let's do the maths. He's now scored 12 goals in 5 successive games, and you keeping count? Well, it's 27 for the season, including 4 hat-tricks. The boy's clearly a bit special. The fans were chanting, "Jordan Rhodes, he's not for sale."
It was a very good feeling after the game, coming off with 5 goals and one that I've never had in my life before.
The win at Wycombe was the first of a trio of victories, but they couldn't repeat 6 of the best. And how about this? Jordan Rhodes didn't score. Hold the front page. But the 3 points were won late on through substitute Alan Lee. I think he particularly enjoyed that one. The wobble looked over following those victories, 7 goals and 2 clean sheets, but Brentford provided all manner of problems before a double quick turnaround by Town. Brentford were 2 up inside half an hour, with both their goals coming from Gary Alexander. First was a penalty. Peter Clark penalised for a foul on Marcus Bean. Perhaps a bit soft, one of those some referees will give and others won't. But it was 1-0 to Brentford after 21 minutes, and probably deservedly so. Shortly afterwards, it was 2-0. Again, it was Alexander with a crisp finish from close range. Town's 4-0 win at Brentford back in October seemed a very long time ago. But not for the first time, Town showed a resilience many other sides wouldn't. They were back in it before half-time. Gary Roberts was unfortunate not to score with a rocket of a shot. He was left pleading with the footballing gods, "What do I have to do to score?" It's a team game though, and from the resulting corner, Alan Lee got his 100th career league goal. Having made a great save a moment before, the unrelated Richard Lee was culpable. His manager, Uwe Rosler, certainly wasn't impressed. Town were quickly level. Jamie McComb getting the equaliser with his first league goal for a year minus a day. He should be getting in the box more often. The Town fans were enjoying it, although what it was doing for the blood pressure, who knows? And what was he doing there all alone anyway? Well, Lee Clark would have had a totally changed half-time team talk after that. And within 5 minutes of the restart, Town were in front. Now, who's due a goal? Oh yes, Jordan Rhodes back on the scoring trail after missing out the previous week, and Town regaining the winning thread. Nothing like doing it the hard way, but what none of us knew at the time was that would be Clark's last win as Huddersfield manager. Town had lost 2-0 on their 3 previous visits to Prenton Park. There wasn't going to be a repeat of that once. Guess who? Yes, Jordan Rhodes with his 29th goal of the season put Town in front shortly after half-time. Thoughts instead turned to a 4th successive league win. But hopes were dampened almost immediately, with Adam McKirk equalising and finding the goalmouth a bit cramped to celebrate. Despite only drawing at Tranmere, Town were in an automatic promotion place. There was still a long way to go. Charlton were looking assured of the title already, but only one of 4 clubs looked like they could join them automatically. And one of those other clubs, MK Dons, were the next opponents of the Galfarm. It was billed in some quarters as a match between 2 of the brightest young managers around in Lee Clark and Carl Robinson. The biggest crowd of the season to date turned up, and they got a repeat of the sides meeting in September. Jamie McCoon put Town in front on the stroke of half-time. They made a habit of scoring just before or after the interval, but it wasn't enough. Stephen Gleeson's not known for his Beckham-esque free kicks. I'm not even sure he meant this, but it beat Ian Bennett and finished 1-1. Another promotion rival turned up next and attracted an even bigger crowd. Town couldn't repeat their Bramall Lane heroics and pull off a St Valentine's Day massacre, and they were behind to a Neil Collins goal after just 5 minutes. Not the return to the side that Alex Smithies had dreamed of following nearly a year out injured. Town had their chances though. Oscar Goben thought he'd scored the equaliser. What a save though by Steve Simonson. And even Jordan Rhodes had an off night. It was the first time since December he'd gone 2 games without scoring. But a bigger shock awaited everyone the following morning.
He was in the next day and just told by the captain that obviously the gaffer's been sacked. And it was just so shocking because no one would even expect that to happen. So you just didn't know where to think really. Mine was, you were still devastated from not winning the game. I thought we played well and deserved to win the game, but I was just shell-shocked by what news we'd been told.
It was a shock at the time. You know, we were just warming down as it was a Tuesday night game here at the Galfarm, and we were warming down on the Wednesday. We were in at the gym, and we sort of got pulled in after the gym and got told then. The manager was very emotional and the coach and staff at the time. But you know, it was a decision made by people above our heads, and you know, the man that runs the club, and you know, that's a decision. That's what he's here for, and that's what his job's made to do. And us as players haven't got any say or any right. Our opinions count for very little. So you know, we've just got to get on with the job in hand.
I started having doubts after Christmas. Little things like we drew against MK Dons, and you know, it was a point's good enough. 2 good teams. I'm thinking, no, we should have stuffed them. And no disrespect to MK Dons, but on that day we should have absolutely battered them. We played very well. So I thought to myself, no, we're accepting certain things too easily here, and we need to be driven on. And as things built up, as obviously there's lots of things goes on behind the scenes, we have lots of talking, and I just got the feeling that it's not going to be this, if I'm honest with you. I think the unbeaten run, as wonderful as it was, I thought it got in the way of really promotion, if I'm honest with you. And we probably were too scared of losing sometimes, and we should have been in the search of winning. And we had too many draws, didn't have a lot of defeats. And when we parted company with Leo, what the press could say to me is, but is that 4th year unbeaten? Yeah, but look where we are. I think you've got to tie that up with, we had probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, budget in the division. Lee had 3 years to put that together. I gave him time to make it right. We had too much chopping and changing. We didn't have a settled squad. If a player made a mistake, they went straight to the bottom of the pile. And all these things came together, and I'm thinking, there's nothing changing here. And I fully expected after last season that we would take another step and we would move on a little bit more. Yeah, and I'm at fault. I allowed him to bring too many players in. But I fully expected us to be in a much more constructive way going forward. And it wasn't to be. So I decided, unfortunately, I went on holiday, I think it's been well documented, but I decided, regardless, and this is true, regardless of the Sheffield United result, I was going to part company on the Wednesday morning. Even if we'd have won 5-0, I was going to part company. So I'd made my mind up on gut feeling from what I believed was right. It was right for the club. We had no falling out. Lee probably didn't have a sniff of what I was thinking about. And then we had, I think, 10 days before we played the next game. So it gave me an opportunity. The reason why it was well documented that the phone call lasts for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, is because that phone call was cut short. Not by me, and that's the honest reason why. So, but there again, Lee has got to take credit. He's got to take credit for putting the squad together, bringing new life into the club by playing some good, attractive football, especially in the first season. But at the same time, I also thought I needed something a little bit different, a much more of a calmer head, somebody with the experience of really saying to the troops, look guys, I've done it before, trust me, I know what I'm doing, I'll get you over the line. When Simon came in, you got us in Sheffield Wednesday, replacing manager at the same time. They went off and got Otto. That's what I wanted, but obviously it wasn't to be. And I know me and Nigel sat down in the office a lot and discussed that. We lost an unbeaten run, we were starting losing a few games. We still had a firm belief that Simon knew what we had to do. We knew we were going to be in the playoffs well before the end of the season, so we could get disappointment out of the way, and we could think, right, okay, we know what we've got to do. It gave Simon time to experiment, try and keep a settled squad of players who we thought would be the people who really, really want this promotion. And we just keep his fingers crossed that time between us knowing we weren't going to get Otto and the playoffs were enough time for him to suss out what he needed to do.
So Simon Grayson came in, having just left Leeds, and the new era started against relegation-threatened Exeter.
We wanted to bounce back as quickly as possible, and luckily we did that at home, putting in a good performance, and obviously getting the manager off to a nice start.
Jamie McComb must have got a taste for scoring goals, as having gone nearly a year without when he was going goal crazy. This is third in 5 games, and again it's just before half-time. Well, that settled the nerves, and the win was clinched late on by Jordan Rhodes. Maybe he thought McComb wanted to be top scorer. He just had to make sure he stayed out in front.
I think the manager will be the first to admit that there weren't necessarily massive changes needed. Came in and put some thoughts to the lads, and had his own ideas, got those across, and we went on from there.
From sort of a couple of hours of being at the football club on the Monday, you certainly got an idea what this football club was all about. So friendly, so family orientated, that people couldn't do enough for us, and that's been the case ever since we've been here. No matter what we've asked for in terms of preparation for players, personal things, or help with everything that we needed to do, there can't be enough done for you for the football club, and that's brilliant. And when you're here for such a period of time, and then you see sort of the bike rides, the charity events, the work that goes into the community, it makes you realise what a special football club this is, and what a football club, or the size of the football club can go to in the future, with the fan base, the ambition of everybody. But there's no egos here. Nobody has sort of got anything beyond the station as such. They just get on with their job and enjoy doing what they're doing.
Cheers, Bill. So an encouraging start for Simon Grayson, and still plenty of time in which to get an automatic promotion place. And things were looking even better 3 days later at Stevenage. Danny Ward put Town in front early on in the second half. And shortly afterwards, back-to-back wins looked on the cards following a rocket from Lee Novak, his first league goal since bonfire night. Stevenage wouldn't lie down though, and they were back in the game through Michael Bostwick. And it looked like Town were destined for the win when Alex Smithies pulled off a stunning penalty save. Sean Morrison fouled Laurie Wilson, but somehow Smithies stopped Scott Laird's effort. But if Town hoped that would knock the stuffing out of Stevenage, they were wrong, as in the final minutes Smithies was beaten from the tightest of angles by Robin Shroot. It was one of those draws that felt like a defeat. Well, there was still nearly a third of the season to go, but even with 4 points from 2 games, it was starting to look like the playoffs rather than automatic promotion. But where there was life, there was hope, and a 6-point gap wasn't insurmountable. With Jordan Rhodes back from international duty with Scotland, Huddersfield were looking very impressive early on, and they raced into a 3-0 lead. Sean Morrison got the opener after 21 minutes, his first goal since his move from Reading. The first of Rhodes came shortly afterwards, heading past Trevor Carson. And he didn't have to wait long for his second. Town with 3 goals in 10 minutes, and Rhodes now on 32 for the season. But the self-destruct button was hit once again, and for the 12th time, Town dropped points from a winning position. They'd thrown away a 2-goal lead at Stevenage, but they went one worse at Gig Lane.
When we were up in them games, you saw sort of the good side and the bad side of the team, and it was some things that needed addressing quickly. It obviously became quite common knowledge that it was something that the team had done all season. They'd been in good positions and not taken them good winning positions into victories, and that's something that we had to work on, the knowledge of how to win games, how to see games through, how to dictate games, and try and make sure that we came out with more victories than draws or defeats from winning positions.
The number of points Town were throwing away had fans wondering what if when they looked at the league table. At least when Hartlepool came to the Gulf Farm, it proved to be home sweet home. Jordan Rhodes and Lee Novak couldn't make much headway, but Alan Lee, who came on for Novak, had the supporters on their feet with a winner in the 75th minute. And this time they did hold on. Rock bottom Rochdale should have been there for the taking, and that looked like it might be the case when Danny Ward scored in stoppage time. They always look better with the left foot as well, but again, Town couldn't hold on to a lead. 40 seconds later, Rochdale were level with an equally stunning strike of their own from Andrew Tutty. Three years earlier, Jordan Rhodes had spent 3 months on loan at Rochdale. Just after half-time, he gave their fans a reminder of what he could do. But again, Town let the lead slip. This was becoming a habit. And just as he'd done at Spotland back in August, Ashley Grimes came off the bench to get an equaliser for a repeat result. Some matches have freak goals. This one had 2. Alex Smithies was looking to see who might be on for the pass, but Stephen Gillespie ensured the ball wouldn't reach anyone. And that was after just 3 minutes. Nearly 500 Town fans made the trip to Essex. They might have thought it was game over when Colchester got a penalty, but Smithies pulled off a fine double save, and he can certainly claim the assist for the stoppage time equaliser. His huge punt bounced, and in trying to block off Alan Lee, the giant defender Magnus Okungei headed past his own goalkeeper. It made a change for Town to come from behind, and it was one of those draws that felt like a win. Well, Town only had to wait another 3 days for a win. Chesterfield may have had their Sunday date at Wembley and the JP Trophy on their minds, but Town were on top form. Lee Novak got the first midway through the first half, and the second wasn't far away. Jack Hunt, who'd been on loan at Chesterfield the previous season, found Jordan Rhodes. That was 34 for the season, level with Ewan Roberts' post-war record of 20 years earlier. Four months had passed since Town's unbeaten run had come to an end at Charlton, who even now were all but confirmed as champions. But revenge was sweet. There was nothing unusual about the goal scorer, just the goal. Gary Roberts' run was brought to a shuddering halt by Darrell Russell, and Jordan Rhodes broke the individual scoring record. It was his first penalty for the club, and it was to prove more than enough, especially when Russell was sent off for a crunching challenge on Anthony Kay. Maybe the champions-elect were easing up in the home straight, but Town was still in touch. Town headed to Carlisle with confidence high on the back of a good run, unbeaten in 8 games. But it was Carlisle who scored first. Former Huddersfield midfielder James Berrett finishing off a fine move early in the second half. Their place in the playoffs was far from assured, but they were starting to believe. Despite this being recognised as one of the poorest performances of the season by Town, it looked like they'd get a point. Lee Novak scoring with 10 minutes to go. He was rediscovering his shooting boots at the right time for the run-in. And it looked like they might win it until the post intervened to deny Alan Lee in stoppage time. There was still time for a winner, but at the other end, hopeful punts forward in the 5th minute of injury time sometimes pay off, and this one certainly did for Lee Miller. So a game in hand on all the clubs around them, but 8 points off automatic promotion was looking a big gap to breach. Incredibly, a playoff place wasn't even mathematically assured, and it would prove to be a while yet before it was. They had a quick opportunity to get Carlisle out of the system, but early on at Orient it didn't look like they had. Matthew Spring's goal had Town on the back foot, but not for long. Just 3 minutes later they were level. Alan Lee caused panic from a corner, and Jordan Rhodes was credited with the first of a hat-trick, although he did have a bit of help from Orient defender Jimmy Smith. Like all good strikers though, he was claiming it. Lee continued to make life awkward for Orient, maybe trying to prove a point, having been left out of late. On the stroke of half-time he was involved again, and Rhodes' decisive touch gave Town the leads. Another Simon Grayson half-time team talk would have to be rewritten. The clincher came in stoppage time, again from Rhodes, and another record. 38 goals for the season, but 36 in the league, ahead of George Brown and Sammy Taylor.
He's had a sensational season. I think everybody who's met him off the pitch knows what a cracking young professional guy he is. And that's a credit to his family. Unbelievable. What a nice guy.
Easter's the time of resurrection, but it was anything but for Town's chances of automatic promotion with back-to-back defeats. First, promotion rivals Sheffield Wednesday won at the Gall Farm in front of the biggest crowd of the season by nearly 2,000. Early in the second half, Miguel Lera decided this was as good a time as any to score his first goal in 7 months. The on-loan Nile Ranger got his first goal since moving from Newcastle to confirm Wednesday's superiority on the day. Town fans were left thinking, hope we don't meet you again in the playoffs. This was one of those games that looked for all the world like 0-0 until two late goals from Bournemouth. Persistence paid off for Scott Malone, and he had a proud record of never losing when scoring. That was maintained by Mark Pugh to make for a very long and miserable trip back home in the bank holiday traffic. If Town were to be promoted, it would be via the playoffs. They weren't closing in on them with growing momentum, anything but, with a third successive defeat, and without scoring as well, nothing it seemed would fall right. It's more than 40 seasons since Town had won at Deepdale, and Chris Robertson continued that run with his first league goal in more than a year. This was another match where people were asking if Town had blown their hopes of going up until the 89th minute. Lee Novak capitalised on a poor defensive header and the playoff place was assured, and no one was more relieved than Terry the Terrier. Well, it was now just a question of where in the top six Town would finish. It would probably be fourth or fifth. They looked like world beaters in the first half at Walsall and should have had more than Lee Novak's second-minute goal to show for their efforts. But it was the proverbial game of two halves. Walsall were playing with more freedom now, perhaps after guaranteeing their League One status, and Florent Cuvelier equalised early in the second half. Simon Grayson must have been concerned about the inconsistency of performance even within a game. The final match of the regular season and Simon Grayson's last chance to plan for the playoffs. No, this isn't the Oval team arriving, but the vanguard of 280 cyclists, including Dean Hoyle, who'd ridden up from Somerset, raising around £250,000 for the Yorkshire Air Ambulance. Well, this was a good dress rehearsal for the playoffs, and even though it was a fifth successive game in which Jordan Rhodes didn't score, it didn't matter, with Lee Novak on the score sheet for the third game in a row. That's on the stroke of half-time, and that was 17 for the season. As prolific with assists during the season had been Danny Ward, and the crowd were delighted to see a rare goal from him clinch the win. Bring on the playoffs.
We were still trying to get automatic promotion until it was mathematically impossible for it to do it. But we were trying to get the mindset. We could work longer on the training pitch in terms of what I needed the team to be set up and shaped for, to be harder to beat for the playoff games, because that's what it was going to boil down to. It was going to be two games in the semi-final, which hopefully would lead to a performance at Wembley. So we worked hard on the training pitch. We got one or two players back from injury, which helped us get a settled team. The likes of Tommy Miller, Damien Johnson came back into midfield. The captain came back after a period of time out. And we were looking to build for a settled team, so we got some sort of consistency going into the playoff games.
So our final finishing position of fourth meant it would be MK Dons in the playoffs with the second leg at home. Town had ended quite a way short of automatic promotion, but if just a handful of those draws had been wins, they would have gone straight up.
In my mind, I'm sure a lot of the lads will agree with me on this because we've had conversations about it. With how we felt last year and losing in the playoffs, we had the home leg, obviously second. I wanted to just do everything different this year, and obviously not going back to Old Trafford. I wouldn't have minded playing at home first and away second, but it does make a massive advantage having your fans there, definitely. You just, as a player, you think about stuff a lot and what can you do differently, and we just wanted everything differently.
very exciting times, the playoffs, and it's the time of the season when all eyes seem to be on them, and very dramatic and very entertaining.
Novak's header, finding Rhodes. Johnson keeps it moving to Woods. It's a decent effort.
The referee's assistant, his flag didn't go up. I'm just wondering if he gets a touch on this, would it count? But it's patient play. The first time we've seen the fullbacks from Huddersfield venture forward. It looks offside to me, maybe a yard or so.
This looks promising. Both Novak and Rhodes well placed here for the fullback. It's Rhodes. Good save by Martin to deny Higginbottom. Swung back in again by Novak, and the touch takes it in. Who else could it be? Jordan Rhodes, the hottest property in the Football League, has scored again. Goal number 38 of an incredible season.
Well, Huddersfield missed the first opportunity, but when a second comes along, you just know that Jordan Rhodes is going to punish you. This is a really deft header. He doesn't need to power this towards the goal. He just skims off his forward. It's a quite brilliant ball in actually from Lee Novak. Got to give him credit. Fabulous ball in. You just see Jordan Rhodes gets ahead of defenders and just glances that towards the far post. That's a crucial goal in this tie.
Rhodes with the header on, and Novak's in the clear.
This was always going to be the worry for MK Dons. They're committing bodies forward. There's a chance they're going to get caught in the counter-attack. Great ball over the top. Little flick there from Jordan Rhodes, again underlining the good footballer he is. Two short touches from Novak. He does the right thing, he goes for that far corner. The keeper maybe expects that coming that way as well. David Martin stays on his feet for a long time, doesn't give Novak a lot to shoot at. And Simon Grayson can't believe it.
Higginbottom gets it back from Hunt and pulls it back to the right back. Good effort! Huddersfield get a vital second from an unlikely source. And Robertson still furious about how the goal came about.
Well, this was always going to be a tight tie. This is always going to be a tight game, and a second goal here for Huddersfield could change absolutely everything. He's a forward-thinking fullback, Jack Hunt, and he's always on the move. He's always playing with his head up as well. Higginbottom does brilliantly to pick him out, but he's well balanced. He's two-footed, Jack Hunt. And David Martin, absolutely no chance of keeping that out. That was always the threat from Huddersfield. They defend in numbers, they defend well, and then take chances when they come along. This could change absolutely everything in this tie.
Chickson for MK Dons. Desperate for a goal here. It's a decent cross. Abirez header. Fine save. Brilliant save, in fact, from Bennett. Williams. Oh, that was optimistic.
Oh, how crucial could this save from Ian Bennett prove in the course of this tie? He's had very little to do, really. Ibere does really well. He gets a powerful header, glancing it towards that far post, but it's a great reach from Ian Bennett, 40 years old. He's not lost those quick goalkeeping instincts, and that's a terrific save.
Well, we knew that they were a good footballing team. We'd take chances, pass it around from the back. We knew we needed to press up high up the pitch to stop them getting into the settled way of passing, make sure the keeper kicked it long so our big centre-halves and defenders could deal with that, and then pass the ball when we got an opportunity. And so we did work and press the opposition. When we didn't have the ball, we dropped back and let them have it across the back. But when it went to a certain area, the team and the individuals knew when they had to go and press the ball. And as you said, it worked really well, and we played very well that day. So all the work we spent for the previous 10 days, even the build up to the Yeovil game, it was all based on what we're going to do at MK Dons in the playoffs. So the players took on board what we asked them to do, and obviously it worked well for us.
Went down with a game plan to MK Dons, and fortunately enough it paid off. We managed to get a 2-goal lead to bring back to the Gal Farm, and I was fortunate enough to get a header glancing off of a Lee Novak cross as well, so that was it was fantastic, and we had a great season.
Obviously I like to attack, everyone knows that, and I do it quite a lot in training, so I was happy to be in the right place at the time, I should say.
So Town in the driving seat following that impressive win, but given their inconsistencies they couldn't afford to take anything for granted in the return leg, but a nail-biter ensued.
But we knew it was going to be a tough game because 2-goal lead is sort of very difficult sometimes to decide what we're doing. As much as we talked about being positive with the players and taking the game to them, you're still aware that the next goal is important, and another goal after that can lead to nerves and anxiety. We probably didn't start the game well. They had nothing to lose but passed it around like a good team that they are. But we still had opportunities in that game.
Miller back into the danger area. And a chance! Lee Novak, who should have scored late on in the first leg, maybe should have scored again.
Well, they've hardly been in the game, Huddersfield, but with Callum Higginbottom down this left-hand side, and with Lee Novak, they've always got a threat. They just don't clear their lines. Mackenzie's sloppy there. Goes to ground, and really Novak should be hitting the target at the very least. A striker of his ability, he should maybe be scoring from that kind of position.
Ward got up well, and it comes to Rhodes! Born to score goals! Jordan Rhodes hits his 40th of the season. Incredible.
Well, Huddersfield really have hardly had a chance in the game, but when the ball falls to this man, you just know what he's going to do, and he's just so cool, so composed in front of goal. He doesn't panic when this ball breaks him on his left foot. He just takes half a step and decides to take the shot a little bit later than he probably normally would. You just see here, maybe he goes for the shot, then he just kicks the goalkeeper, doesn't panic, doesn't really try and smash this ball goalwards, just passes it in. And Jordan Rhodes all season has scored goals like this. This is an absolutely crucial one in the tie.
Ten men back behind the ball here, Huddersfield, protecting what is now a 3-goal lead effectively. Howell turns! It's not a 3-goal lead anymore! He's given them a glimmer of hope!
Well, it's an outstanding finish from Daniel Powell, fully deserved goal from MK Dons, wonderful possession football. Once they get the ball on the floor into Daniel Powell's feet, they have a chance. Because Peter Clark, Sean Morrison can't come and attack. It's a clever turn and a really cool finish, but it's good possession football. This is what we expect from MK Dons, and they've done it really since the kick-off. They need to keep that ball on the floor. They do. They get it into Powell's feet. This is not easy. On the half turn, he knows exactly where the goal is. Smithies absolutely no chance of saving this.
First to the ball again, Potter, and that's a good one from McDonald! What a chance!
Once again for the MK Dons, it's Darren Potter picking the ball up as Huddersfield give it away in their own half. A brilliantly weighted pass here to Charlie McDonald, but he goes with the outside of his right foot. If he gets there a little bit earlier, he's definitely onside. If he gets his instep on this and dinks it over the keeper, the ball can come back in towards the goal. He goes with the outside of his foot, and that means it's always drifting well wide of the post. What a chance to take the lead.
There's a poor free kick from Mackenzie. He could be made to pay for that. Hunt steaming forward in support here, and he's got the ball. Great save by Martin. Can he get back in time? Well, it didn't matter. Mackenzie got a foot in the way, and then Martin did have to make a save to deny Novak.
Well, Jack Hunt scored a terrific goal in the first leg, and it's his appreciation of this poor ball from Mackenzie that sets Huddersfield away. This is a brilliantly timed pass as well. Mackenzie slips, and well, Jack Hunt was just going to slide this past the keeper. David Martin does really well to stay on his feet and make the save. And just about manages to squeeze this away from Novak's shot.
Terrific work by the young keeper. Looking for a Vire. Back again to Mackenzie. Looked as though he might have used an arm to control that. O'Shea with the cross. Vire comes in. Well, that was so close, and still they could get it. And a wonderful save from Smithy. Wonderful save.
Oh, his second stop is absolutely amazing. I just wondered, did this first one cross the line from Ibire? Well, the whole of the ball is certainly not over the line. Smithies does brilliantly with that first one.
MK Dons fighting right to the end here, and they have got the goal back. And would you believe it? Well, wait a moment. Yes, I thought for a second then when the referee looked over to the linesman he was going to deny Alan Smith his moment of glory, but he hasn't. The goal stands.
Well, we're deep into Aguero time, aren't we? But this is a lifeline for MK Dons, and Alan Smith just gambles, just takes a chance at the far post, lunges in. Could it happen? Could MK Dons roaring back in the tie?
To Martin. It's finished. Huddersfield Town will return to Wembley Stadium and a date against their Yorkshire rivals Sheffield United, but only in the end by the skin of their teeth. A wonderful effort by MK Dons, who dominated possession here tonight, but couldn't find that crucial goal to send the tie into extra time. Alan Smith giving them hope, and they had played so well, but Huddersfield defended well, and probably over the two games will feel they deserve that date at Wembley on Saturday the 26th of May.
They were terrific on the night. They had a real good game. And probably just about deserved the win on the night. However, we knew that whoever's going to score the first goal, if we got the first goal, the game was almost virtually over. And unfortunately enough, we managed to do that.
And then it becomes slightly nervous, and the score with an injury time, but we managed to see the job through. And that night was difficult for the players because they knew that they had one foot at Wembley in the door there, but we obviously had to make sure that we finished it off.
You know that it's 90 minutes from playing against Leeds United away or Yeovil away. It's a massive step. Obviously, we know exactly how it felt to lose. We never wanted that feeling again. So you kind of had that in the back of your mind, but you needed to compose yourself and be as relaxed as possible to play to the best of your ability at Wembley.
Well, we tried to just play it as low-key as possible, I think. People had talked about the previous year after the semi-final game against Bournemouth. Everybody got slightly carried away with themselves, that we hadn't achieved anything, and that was what we were looking to get across to the players, that it's a one-game season now, and we tried to keep things low-key on the training pitch. We worked hard on how we were going to play. We were focused on what we needed to do. We made the players relaxed as possible, and that's how myself and my staff work. But we demand things to be done on the training pitch and when we go out on a match day, and try to treat it as normal as possible. But also the other side of it, make sure that the players are aware of the importance of it, but also take away anything that could create any nerves or tension in the build-up to the game. Hence why we went down to Derby on the Wednesday night, stayed in a hotel to break the journey up and trained at Derby on the way down, and then went to Wembley. All the players were excited. They had the pictures taken on board in the dressing rooms. They were on the pitch. that might have still happened on the Saturday morning, when we got to the game. And I wanted to take all that away from them, and they had the sole focus that when they got to Wembley, they were in the dressing room, they were getting changed, they were then focused on the job in hand that they had to do. And doing that, I think, helped us. Not necessarily always works, and other people had different options to do, but I wanted to take as much responsibility away from the players and give them the sole aim of being focused on the game, and that's why we did what we did.
I never went into the dressing room before the game, but I said to Simon, look, I want to go on this occasion, I want to go down and say a few words to them before they go onto the pitch. And my team talk was quite simple. I said, look guys, I really, really want you to do this. I said, the fans really, really want you to do this, but ultimately, I know you guys want to do it. Disappointment to last season, remember that. I said, life's full of opportunities. Everybody in life has an opportunity. The difference is, some people take those opportunities and some people don't. Make sure you take the opportunity, and when you come off the pitch, you have no regrets. And if you do that, that's good enough for me.
More than 50,000 fans produced a riot of colour in the Wembley sunshine. Town were perhaps just 90 minutes away from ending the 11-year exile from the Championship. It was a much-changed side from the Old Trafford disappointment against Peterborough 12 months earlier, and a much-changed outcome as well, and in the most dramatic of circumstances that no one could have predicted. We were in for a long old afternoon. It proved to be one of those days that even those who weren't there will always remember where they were.
People wanted to make sure that you didn't lose the game. As I said, the heat contributed to it immensely because it was so hot down there. They set up with a team with Stephen Quinn playing behind Creswell, which we had to make sure that we nullified because he was their best player. So we were slightly deeper in terms of how we needed to play. Players were anxious because both sets of teams had been through disappointing in the playoffs. They knew what was at stake if they made a mistake, and so it was edgy. But I think when you look at the overall game, we were the better team. We created the better chances. Ward is at the bar.
The full here to Ward to drive against the angle of bar and post. That's the closest by some distance we've had to an opening goal in this playoff final. Danny Ward with a thunderbolt. Simonson did not move a muscle. An inch to the left, and that was 1-0 Huddersfield. Rhodes inside the 6-yard box. The corner is deeper, the corner is headed towards goal. Simonson with one stop and away off the post. Huddersfield so close there to the opening goal, so late on in the game. Well, somehow Simonson kept out this header, and then from the resultant scramble, it's cleared off the line. Doyle, the second hero for Sheffield United. What a vital clearance. Quinn looking dangerous, still going. Stephen Quinn, saved by Smithers. Well, a quality run from Stephen Quinn, out of keeping with the rest of the game, it has to be said. First real save that Smithers has had to make, a very important one. As the referee brings out the yellow card for Harry Maguire. No room for any mistakes now from either set of players. It's Gary Roberts for Huddersfield. It's Lee for Huddersfield. Great save by Simonson. Lee on the turn brings the best out of Sheffield United's goalkeeper. And Huddersfield can come again. Roberts, who set up that chance, finding Novak. Now it's Callum Woods. Huddersfield looking to turn the screw and find the winning goal. Woods with the cross. Lee goes up for Huddersfield, never got off the ground, and Sheffield United clear their lines. Underneath it is Morrison. Here's Hunt, caught by O'Halloran, and it's a free kick, Huddersfield. Well, at the end of normal time, Simonson produced 2 good stops to keep out Clark. This is better to deny Alan Lee. Nice approach work from Gary Roberts, and Lee on the spin, on target, with pace. Good stop from Simonson. Huddersfield fans pick up the noise as Roberts drives one in. Really good delivery, and it's off the line again. Clark denied once more. And here comes Sheffield United on the break with Williamson. Quinn takes over. Porter needs to keep his head. Porter goes down right under the nose of the referee. That will be a free kick. Johnson will be booked. Drama at both ends of the pitch now. Remarkably, Peter Clark denied again. The big number 5 with a header. And it's hooked away. He's up and down off his seat, and it still won't go over the line.
We had by far the best of the game. I think it took nearly 2 hours for them to have a shot on the goal, an actual shot that Alex needed to save. So we gave a very good account of ourselves, although it ended 0-0. Had we won by 2 or 3, I don't think that would have been unjust. And all credit to their goalkeeper, he kept them in the game.
Never experienced a game so tough in my life. The preparation we made was absolutely spot on, but you can't prepare for heat like that and the conditions that they were. I remember starting off the game in studs, but then finishing the game, I could have been finishing the game in flip-flops, to be honest, just to give my feet a breather. They were so sore, and my legs were so sore trying to pick them up. We were so drained.
First man forward for Huddersfield is Tommy Miller. Almost scored the winner at the end of the 90 minutes, had his effort cleared off the line. Can Miller put Huddersfield in front? No, he can't. Simonson pulls off the save. First blood, Sheffield United. Tommy Miller wants to dig a hole and disappear. It was a weak penalty. Simonson guessed correctly and got across quickly. Joy for the Blades. And this is an interesting one. Lee Williamson, who back in 2004, playing for Mansfield, lost a penalty shootout in a playoff final to Huddersfield Town. Can he put Sheffield United in front today? Williamson for Sheffield United, misses 2. Smithy's got a part to that one. Might even have come off his forearm, actually. It's another desperately weak penalty.
I tried to do as much as I could do in 90 minutes or 120 minutes with the players. All I did was I organised the first 5, the 5 most confident we put into the order, and then from then on it was down to players taking responsibility who wanted to take them. I couldn't do anything more from there, so I was going to sit down out the way. Saw Dean, thought I'll just go and sit next to him and never watch the penalties. All I was seeing is, I looked up at the replay after they'd been taken to see where we'd missed them or how they'd been saved, to see who was taking them for Sheffield United, and then just waited for the reaction of both sets of supporters.
When we played at Cardiff against Mansfield, I was in Mallorca, so I watched it on TV. Against Bournemouth last season, I watched it from Lee's office in the dressing room, in Lee's office. So I thought to myself, I haven't watched penalties live since '95 in Brentford, so I'm not going to watch them. So I went out of the Royal Boats and I went downstairs and I was going to just watch them on a TV somewhere. There's no TVs. And the tunnel was there, so I thought, right, I'll go into the tunnel, I'll keep myself to myself, and I'll go and sit in the dugout. and then Simon just came over and sat next to me. The way the players were positioned with arms around each other, I could see our goal and the goalkeepers, but I couldn't see who was taking them. So Simon kept saying to me, who's taking this? And he'd say, Tommy, Damien Johnson or whatever. And that was it. And obviously Simon looked at the crowd for the reactions. So there you go.
Next up, Damien Johnson, former Northern Ireland international, to miss the target completely. They're getting worse. Well, you cannot legislate for that, no matter how much work you've done on penalties in the week preceding this. Neil Collins, who wanted to go first actually, scored the winner at Huddersfield for Sheffield United in February. And finally we have a goal. Neil Collins, the centre defender, shows the rest how to take a spot kick. Sends Smithers the wrong way. Alan Lee next up for Huddersfield. You sense he has to score to keep Huddersfield noses up. He's missed. Another weak penalty. Simonson saves. Well, joy almost unconfined. Away to our right. It's another terrible penalty.
When Tommy Miller came back and he missed the first one, I said, listen lad, don't worry. The team that misses first goes on to win. When we missed the second and third, I thought, what an idiot you were saying that.
The senior pros went first. They took responsibility. It wasn't to be. And I thought we'd blown it at that point.
A chance to go further clear now. Matt Loughton, 22 years of age, to put United 2 up. He's missed. Saved by Smithers. Must be the lowest penalty shootout scoring I've ever seen. 6 penalties, only 1 has been scored. Up comes the captain, Peter Clark. Can he put Huddersfield on the score sheet? Yes, he can. Mr. Reliable breathes new life into Huddersfield's promotion dream. Another central defender tucks it away with ease. Andy Taylor, who came on as a late sub, brought on to score from the penalty spot. He's hit the post! This is quite remarkable. 6 penalties out of 8 have now been missed in different ways. He's hit the post and Huddersfield can believe again. Scott Arfield, another substitute on the day to put Huddersfield in front. He scored! Scott Arfield, advantage Huddersfield Town. What pressure on Chris Porter, the man whose goal brought Sheffield United to Wembley, has to score to keep alive their dreams of the Championship next season. Scores! How about that for nerve? .40 goals this season for Jordan Rhodes. That one won't add to his tally, but it might be the most vital score of the season for him and for Huddersfield. Sudden death. Stephen Quinn has to score. was here 3 years ago as Sheffield United lost to Burnley in the Championship playoff final. Stephen Quinn has to score to keep their dreams alive, and he has done. It's Gary Roberts. Straight down the middle. Almost burst the net, Gary Roberts. Huddersfield keep the pressure on Sheffield United. '90-year-old Harry Maguire, Sheffield United's player of the season, has to score. And does. I'm tempted to ask the question, why weren't these guys taking the first 5? (4-4) after 7 penalties each. Callum Woods. Scores. 5-4 Huddersfield. Look at the relief on his face. And theirs. It's the captain, Michael Doyle. He scores too. Now they're all in the groove. Nearly time to go round again. Maybe we should get the managers to take them, then the chairman.
I walked up there trying to look calm and focused, but I was probably the most nervous person in the ground at that point. So, but if you show weakness and you think about stuff too much, you put off.
Jack Hunt, 21 years of age, one of those that started the final 12 months ago for Huddersfield. He scored too. 6-5 Huddersfield Town. Now is this Michael O'Halloran coming forward? It is. On loan from Bolton, has to score, and does. 6-6. The last man, the last outfield player who hasn't taken a kick as yet for Huddersfield is Sean Morrison. On loan from Reading since January. Was in the Swindon team managed by Danny Wilson 2 years ago that lost the playoff final. Can he keep Huddersfield in front? Yes, he can. What a penalty, by the way. Into the side netting. Brilliant. 11 penalties in a row have now been scored. And it's now Matt Hill's turn to try and score from 12 yards. Surely somebody's nerve will break soon. Will it be Hill? Brilliant penalty again. Just dinks it into the roof of the net. I think what normally happens now is the goalkeepers have to take them, and that is what's happening. So it's over to you, fellas. You've saved a few. Can you score one? Alex Smith is for Huddersfield. Blasted in. So much power it went through the palms of Simonsen. Hoopy and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonsen clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted to the Championship after a quite incredible penalty shootout. Well, Wembley has witnessed some drama down the years. Has it ever witnessed a penalty shootout quite like that?
I honestly thought to myself, I went down there because if we weren't going to be successful and we were going to lose, then I was there to console the players and show a bit of solidarity. but it wasn't to be, and we did it. And I thought to myself, right, well, if we do it, I'll be chairman-like, I'll be a good lad. I'll go and shake players' hands and console them, but I were like a whippet. I were gone. In fact, I don't even think I said, Simon, thank you. I just run like the clappers. I think I pulled both my hamstrings. I were gone.
Before you knew it, Dean was running past me, running down the touchline, and based on his turn of speed to get to the players, he may be playing in the Championship next year. But it was a great relief and a great feeling. And I was relaxed about the situation because I couldn't influence it. I'll probably be more nervous watching him over the last couple of days afterwards when I've actually seen how bad the penalties were and how good the other ones were.
Every boy's dream. I was no different. As a kid, I wanted to go and play at Wembley and win there and lift the trophy. And to fulfil a boyhood ambition is absolutely unbelievable. If I get grey and old and my mind goes and I can't remember anything after my family, that's the one thing I want to be able to remember.
They came for the trophy. Manager Simon Grayson collects his winner's medal, and now Peter Clark can accept the trophy that means Huddersfield Town are back in the Championship. "11 years has been too long to wait, and after failing in the playoffs in the last 2 years, they've done it at last."
We don't have to spend silly this year, because if you think about it, a lot of clubs in the Championship are skint. They're cutting their cloth as well. So I think we stand half a chance of a good consolidation. Whether we have anything could happen. We could scrape relegation and just avoid it, or we could get in the playoffs. We could be mid-table. Who knows? We don't know how the players who we've got now are going to react to Championship football. What I will say though, it's got to be easier getting yourself up for a game against Leicester City away, or Sheffield Wednesday, or Hull City away, or Middlesbrough away, than what it is against Walsall, Exeter or Yeovil. It's got to be, hasn't it? I think what you find is the clubs which go up from League One into the Championship, it's a new ball game. It's like every game is exciting. It's a challenge, and I'm sure our players will react in the same positive way.
First and foremost, we want to be surviving the Championship next year. But as I touched on, teams have gone up, finished in the playoffs, finished in the top half of the division. So we're under no illusions it's going to be tough for us, but we want to be ambitious and positive what we can do over the next few years with it.
You're born blue and white, you die blue and white, and chairmen come and go, players come and go, managers come and go, but when you're a fan, whether it's Manchester United or Aldershot, or maybe not Manchester United, but you stay that colour. You follow them through thick and thin. The proper supporters do. And there's guys out there when that penalty went in, or they missed the penalty, in tears, hugging people who didn't know. It's magical. So the trophy is for them, the promotion is for them. All what I do is represent those guys, nothing else. I'm a fan, I've been all over the place watching this club. I know how it feels, and I know, moments like Saturday and last night don't come around very often. So when they do, you've got to savour the moment. But the hard work starts now. But for the fans, it's for you. Thank you very much.